seem to be going a little bit better now with the track. For a while there, the track was very confusing, and had 2 or 3 U-turns trying to work out where we had to go, but now we seem to be on the right track. They do have some signage, you can see there, but it's not always been very clear. But anyway, we're on our way to Jells Park. Glad you could be along today on this next adventure with Larry. Got up this morning and packed myself a bit of lunch and loaded up the bike, rode down to the station and got a train to Dandenong, rode round to the Dandenong Creek track where I've come before to go to Carrum Beach on previous rides. This way I decided to go the opposite direction along the creek, and it heads out across Dandenong Road over through sort of Doveton, I guess, and then on the Dandenong Creek track right out eventually comes to Jells Park, and from there I think you can go all the way into the city. My plan is not to go to the city today, but I'd like to make Jells Park if we could. Sun out today, but I can tell you there's not much warmth in it. But then again, it is winter time. Turn off the Dandenong Trail onto the Eastlink Trail here. And it looks like we go underneath the freeway. I'm glad we don't have to go across. There we go, not too hard. Now crossing over Wellington Road, or maybe I should say under Wellington Road. Quite a bit of water here from all the rain. You can hear some bellbirds. Always a beautiful sound. Okay, the sign said that we're just 2 kilometres from the Jells Park Cafe, which means we're getting very close. Nice autumn leaves there. I think we've got to get across or under Ferntree Gully Road yet before we get into Jells Park proper. That's where all the memories are, along the edge of the lake. Well folks, we've made it to Jells Park and stopped for a bit of lunch. I bought me a little camp burner today, the little stove with a little tin billy on it. Just going to boil up some water, and I've got with me some Alfredo pasta and sauce mix. So we're going to give that a shot and see how it goes. It turned out alright at home, so this will be the first time trying it out on the road, so to speak. But we're sitting here in Jells Park. Beautiful place, beautiful park. We used to live just near here, and used to come and walk around this area quite often. So it's a lovely spot. Well, there you go, folks. There's my pasta lunch. Just added a bit of salt and pepper. The noodles are nicely cooked, so we'll see what they're like. Certainly hot. Quite tasty. What can I get you to see? There you go. Sort of. Not too bad. Can certainly taste the pepper I put on. Cooked right here in Jells Park. How's that? This is my little stove I've got. First time I've used it on the road. I've done a couple of trial runs at home, but this is the first time I've had it out. And it's just the fuel canister with a little tiny stove top that folds up into a little tiny bag, and there you've got to unfold it and screw it onto the fuel bottle, and you've got your stove ready to go. Some of the more expensive ones have an ignition system on them. This is a cheaper one, doesn't have an ignition system, so you need a lighter or some matches to light it. And also have with it at home, I didn't bring it today, but have a little windshield in case it's very windy when you're trying to cook, which I guess would be handy at times when there's a strong wind. But not much wind now to speak of. There was a fair bit while I was riding this morning, but it's died down a lot, at least while I'm sitting here having my lunch. Just come down closer to the lake for a cup of coffee before I ride back to the station. Well, just finished my coffee and sit here for a minute by the lake before we take the ride back to Dandenong Station. Been a good day. Had a bit of a mix-up with the track early on, trying to work out where the Dandenong Creek trail was. It was not very well signposted for the first part, but then it improved as it went. But anyway, we got here, had some lunch, had some pasta that I cooked up, and enjoyed a cup of coffee here by the water. And no doubt we'll put this together in another one of those little videos on Larry living in the now, so you can follow along. You know, as you look at those videos, I was thinking about this morning. It might seem like a series of chance random stories, chance random adventures or activities, or whatever you might like to call them, as if they're unrelated to each other. And I was thinking today, sometimes our life can seem like that, made up of a lot of different chapters that are almost appearing as random and chance along the way, and yet it says in the Bible that our lives are lived according to a plan, a purpose that God has. I often ponder that verse in Psalms 139, I think, where it says God has ordained that all the days of our life, all the days of my life were written in your book before one of them came to be, it says. And if God wrote the book, if God wrote the story, it'd have to be a pretty good story, wouldn't it? Think about that. I'm at a stage now in life where I've been looking after my dad for quite some time, and then he passed away nearly 3 months ago now, so time has moved on a little bit. But at the time, looking after Dad seemed like a real genuine assignment that we were given by the Lord to look after Dad, and I had a real sense of purpose in that. And then Dad's passed away, and nothing else has sort of opened up since, and it's been weeks, and now it's turned into months. And so you start to wonder, what's next? What is the next chapter? And I guess it's a season in my life where I want to listen and to hear what God is saying, because if anything is true about what He says, then He has a plan, and the days of our life are ordered by Him. I often think of that verse in Jeremiah, is it, that God says, "I know the plans I have for you." It's probably the most quoted verse by preachers that I hear lately. I know the plans I have for you, plans to bless and to prosper, to give you a hope and a future. And it's, I guess it's often quoted because it is a good verse. It tells us that God does have a plan for each of us. But in all the times I've heard it quoted, I've never heard anybody talk about the context of that verse. And the context, I think, adds to the meaning of that verse enormously, because when Jeremiah spoke those words given to him by God as a prophetic word to the people, where were they? Well, they were in exile, not even in their own country. They had been invaded by a foreign power and taken off as captives, prisoners of war, if you like, and living in a strange land, and seemingly with no hope of rescue or going back to what was. And they were certainly in a place where they did not want to be, a place where they were not comfortable, a place that they could not possibly think of in terms of this being God's plan or this being God's purpose. Surely it would be better than this. And yet the prophetic word that Jeremiah gave to the people was, build some houses here, have children here, let your children marry, have grandchildren here. And while you're here, pray God's blessing upon the city here and upon the country here and upon their leaders. And then he says, for I know the plans I have for you, plans to bless you and to give you a hope and a future. Where? In this place they didn't want to be, this place of captivity, this place of exile. And that changes the context and the shade of the verse enormously in my mind, because we often find ourselves in a place where we just don't want to be. It's not a good place. It's a place of restriction, a place of with no freedom, with no joy, no purpose. It seems to make no sense. It seems to be a total waste of time to us. And I can certainly identify with some of those feelings, even right now in my present chapter, even though it's nowhere near as bad as the chapter that the people of Israel were facing. But God is in control. He does have a plan. And even for that captivity, God had an appointed time. It was to be for 70 years. He had it mapped out. He knew what he was doing. He hadn't lost control. He hadn't lost the plot. He wasn't going to give up and come back to it later. He knew what he was doing all along. He was getting his people ready for what he had for them next. So that's just a little thought I wanted to share with you by the water today as we sit here by the lake at Jells Park. Thanks for listening today and for coming along. I'm going to sit here a few moments longer and just enjoy a few more moments of the water and the fresh air and the quiet, and then I'm going to get on the bike and ride back to Dandenong Station and get on home. But anyway, thanks for coming again with me today and watching this little video, and no doubt we will see you on the next one. Bye for now.